Hi, my name is Ashok Gujral, and today I will be doing the webinar for the March 2020 SAT, the section 3, the math section. And I hope you find great value in this webinar. And if you have any questions, just feel free to reach out to Embrace Tutoring. So let's get started with the first question. So the table above shows some values of x and their corresponding values of y. Which of the following equations shows a possible relationship between x and y? Okay, so the way I would approach this question would be by looking at the y-intercept. I would look at the y-intercept by identifying what is the x value and the y, and then the y value. The y-intercept is where is x is equal to 0, and then there's some value of y. So we know that it's 0, 2, so which we know that the y-intercept is 2. So we can cancel out 3, b, and d, because it has to be positive 2. So we know our answer is already A. But, excuse me. So yeah, so we had to find, the quickest way to do this question was to find the y-intercept. And we identified the y-intercept by using the table right here. And it shows right here that it was 0, 2. We know that the y-intercept is where the x is equal to 0, and then there's some value of y. So we have to identify that first, and that really helped us a lot in canceling out B, C, and D. So our answer is A. But we can double check A by plugging in some value of x and making sure that the y value matches in the table. So let's say let's pick 2 and 4. If we plug in y is equal to 2 plus 2, you get y is equal to 4, which matches to right here. Let's try 3 and 5. If you do y is equal to 3 plus 2, you get y is equal to 5, which matches right here. So we know our answer is A. So next question, question 2. In the figure shown, line J is parallel to line K and line L is parallel to line M. We have important information right here, parallel lines. So this would be the transversal. What is the value of X? So we know vertical angles, which means these are vertical angles right here. So if this is 80, this also has to be 80. An important thing to know about lines is that a line is 180 degrees, meaning that if this is 40 and this is 80 degrees, this has to be, 40 plus 80, and then you just subtract that from 180. So 40 plus 80 is 120, and you subtract that from 180 to get 60. So this is 60 degrees right here. And then you can, the way I do this type of question is by drawing a Z. So it helps me know what is which. So if we know this is 40, this also has to be 40. And this is 80, this also has to be 80. And so this basically mirrors this line right here. So this has to be 60 from what we determined before. And so we know this is 80, and so we know vertical lines. Vertical lines are lines that make an X, and then the angles are the same. So if we know this is 40, this also has to be 40 right here, which is our X value. So let me use a different highlighter. So this is X, this is 40, this also has to be 40. So that's our answer, 40 degrees. Question 3. The function f is defined by f of x is equal to x squared minus 5x plus 6. What is the value of f of 4? So we can do f of x, where is we're plugging in 4. So we do f of 4 is equal to, we just plug it in. So when these type of questions are on the SAT, you just have to plug in the values and find the y value essentially, or the output. So we do f of 4, you get 4 squared minus 5 times 4 plus 6. F4 is equal to 16 minus 5 times 4, which is 20, plus 6. And then you do f of 4. 16 minus 20 is -4, plus 6 is 2. And that is our answer here. So that was very straightforward. You just have to plug it in into the equation given right here. So next question. Question 4. Okay. Arsley can spend up to a total of $20 on streamers and balloons for a party. So it's streamers and balloons for a party. Streamers can cost $1.49 per pack, and balloons cost $4.39 per pack. Which of the following inequalities, notice it's inequalities, represents the situation where S is the number of packs Arsley can buy, and B is the number of packed balloons Arsley can buy. So they assume there's no sales tax. Okay, so for this type of question, we have three things to worry about: the sign of the inequality, and then we have the matching of the variables, and we also have the process. And I'll explain what the process, what I mean by process. Okay, so first we have to look at the sign of the inequality. Sign of the inequality is can be shown is basically in the question. Okay, so it's in the first sentence of the question. Arsley can spend up to a total of $20. Up to means it's less than or equal to. If it was at least, then it would be greater than or equal to, because it shows that's the bare minimum. So let me write that down for you guys to have. Up to, which gives hint at the maximum amount. It has to be less than or equal to. And at least, which is usually what the wording is, that type of wording is used, is greater than or equal to. So in this case, it says can spend up to $20, which means that we can get rid of C and D. And now, since we found the right sign of the inequality, we have to find the matching of the variables. So we have to make sure the numbers and the variables match. So streamers are S in this case, and balloons are B in this case. So the streamers cost $1.49. So that means it has to be 1.49 times S. And in both options, A and B, they're both matched. And so we check that off. And now we have the process. From the process, I mean, it could be either addition, multiplication, division, or subtraction. And in this case, since you buy two things, you have to add them, and then you have to see if it exceeds the total spending or if it's less than the total spending. And since you have to find the total cost, you have to add both quantities, and you have to see if it exceeds or if it's less than. So you have to do addition. So we can get rid of choice A since it adds both quantities, so it's choice B. $1.49 S plus 4.39 B is less than or equal to $20. So that was question 4. Now let's go to question 5. Okay. Bill is planning to drive 1,000 miles to visit his family. If he drives 250 miles per day, so let's first have the 1,000 miles. Plans to drive 250 miles per day, represents the remaining distance. Which of the following represents the remaining distance D in miles that Bill will have to drive to reach his family after driving for N days? So we start off with 1,000 miles, which is the total amount that he has to drive. So we can do D, which is, as said in the question, the remaining distance. And then we have 1,000 miles. Okay. And then he plans to drive 250 miles per day, which means that from the 1,000 miles, you have to decrease that 250 miles per day. And the days is in N, can be represented by N. So you can do 1,000 miles minus, because if you add 1,000, it wouldn't make sense with the question, because if he plans to drive, he plans to decrease the amount of he wants to decrease the distance he has between him and his family. So you have to subtract, and it'd be 250 miles per day. And then since it's N days, you have to multiply by N days. And if you cross out the units, you get the days cancel out, and you're just left with 250 times N, which is D is equal to 1,000 miles minus 250 N, and then this is in miles. So you're left with an answer that is in miles. And that is choice B. And it's not choice A because you're not adding to the 1,000. The goal is to subtract 1,000. You get closer and closer to the family. And it's not choice D or C or D because 200 you can't subtract. You can't have a negative distance. So it's not choice C, and it's not. No, wait. Sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. I picked the wrong answer. It's not B, it's choice D. Oh, it's not D. Yeah, I had the right answer right here. I'm so sorry. That was my fault. Yeah, so it's not B because the variables don't match. The variables don't match. You have to cross that out. N is referring to the days, and 1,000 is the total miles that they have. So that's why it's D, which is starts off with 1,000, and you subtract the 250 every day he travels. So it's choice D, not B. That was my fault. I'm sorry. Let's go to question 7. The table gives some values of f and corresponding values of f of x for polynomial function f. Which of the following could be the graph of x in the xy plane where y is equal to f of x? So the best way to do this is by looking at the table right here. So we can cross out choices based off the y-intercept, which is 0, 2, 0, 2, intercept. 1 second, let me check something. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. Okay, I forgot. I forgot that question. Okay, so let me do 7 and then I'll go back to 6. Okay, so the question, yeah, okay, so it's asking for the best demonstration of the graphs, or not demonstration, representation. So it would be, if you look at the y-intercept and match the points to see if that graph works. So we would do, let's look at the y-intercept for 0, 2. So it goes by 2, so 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and the same thing. So 0, 2, so 0, 2 is right here. So this works. This works. This doesn't work because this has the origin, and this also works. Next one. Let's try -2, -2. -2, -2. -2 should be down right here somewhere, not there. So this is out. We can cross that out. Now let's do -2 here. -2, -2. This also doesn't work, so you can get rid of that. And so you're left with choice D. See, -2 right here and -2 right here, and matches. You're gonna try 1 and 7. 1 is like right here, and they go to 7. It's hard to see because it's going by 2s. So it'd be 2, 4, 6, 8. 7 is right here, so it matches like right here. So this would be 7 in between 6 and 8. So it does match with the table, and so that is our answer, choice D. So with this question, you just have to match the points on table. Let me write this neater. Points on the table with points on graph. So that's the key for this question. Sorry, let's go back to question 6. Which of the following is equivalent to the given expression? So this is just basically asking for an expression that is equal to the one given above. So we basically have to simplify, basically asking us to simplify this given equation, expression. So we do x cubed plus x, and then we have to distribute the positive sign to both terms. So you get plus x squared, and then plus minus is minus. You do minus x, and you just combine like terms. So you don't have the like term. You have the like terms for the x's, but you don't have anything else. You just keep these two. So you get x cubed plus x squared because they don't combine with anything else. And then plus x minus x is they just cancel out. So you're just left with x cubed plus x squared, which is choice C. Okay. Okay, good. Let's go to question 8. Which of the following expressions is equivalent to the given expression where x is not equal to -2? Okay, so this is also another simplification problem. There's a lot of algebra on the SAT, so you have to master algebra. Simplification. Okay, so you're x plus 2 over x plus 2 squared. Another way we could write this is as x plus 2 over x plus 2 just multiplied itself by 2 times. That's what basically the square means. You have x plus 2 over x plus 2 times x plus 2, sorry. So then the best way to simplify this would be, since you know that there's one x plus 2 right here, you can divide them. So you can get you can cancel out the one term on each, on the top, on the numerator and the denominator. So you're just left with 1 over x plus 2. There's no other way to simplify this, so this should be your answer. And if you look at the answer choices, it's not A. Oh wow, B is our answer. C and D are not the answer because they wanted us to. So I'll explain how they got x squared plus 2x plus 4. So they basically multiply the x squared out. So they just did x plus 2, x plus 2. If you do a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, which is a way to factor everything, to FOIL everything out, you get where this is a and this is b, you get x squared plus 2 times x plus 2 times 2 plus the 2 squared, you get x squared plus 4x plus 4. And that's how they got it. Oh, okay, actually, never mind. They didn't even get the right factoring way, but they wanted us to factor and try to get confused. But the best way to do it is to first try to simplify whatever you can, and in this case, they just repeated the x plus 2 on the bottom, so you could divide 1, and that's how you get choice B. Okay, now let's move on to question 9. Which of the following is an equation of the line in the xy plane that contains the points 1, 3 and 5, 15? Okay. So let's do, okay. They're wanting us to make an equation. So equation basically is in the form of y is equal to mx plus b form, where this is the slope, positive slope, means it's going up, negative slope, meaning it's going down. This is the y-intercept, where it tells you where it's 0, comma, whatever number for the y. So basically we need the slope and the y-intercept. To find the slope, you would use the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we would, let's say we have the points 1, 3, and what's the other one? 5, 15. Okay, so let's say we label this as x, 1, y, 1, x, 2, y, 2. So we just basically plug in these points into the equation and then solve for the slope. So what's y2? It's 15. Y1 is 3. Y2 is 5. And x2 is 5 and x1 is 1. So we get 15 minus 3 over 5 minus 1. So we get 12 on the top and 4 on the bottom, which means our slope is 3, or m is 3. M is 3. Okay, so we know our m is 3, which basically, if we look at the answer choices, everything cancels out but a. So that's our answer. Because if the slope doesn't match, then you can cancel those points out. But let's look for the y-intercept. So we know the but let's double check our answer A just to make sure we are right, and I can also explain it to you better. Okay, so we know it's y is equal to mx plus b as stated above. Now we know it's 3x plus b. Okay, so now let's pick a random point. Let's say we choose 1, 3. It's the simplest. So we plug in the 1 and 3 for x and y respectively. So let's do, we know 3 is the y value and 1 is the x value plus b. Now we have to solve for b. So 3 is equal to 3 times 1, which is 3, plus b. And if you subtract 3 on both sides to solve for b, you get b is equal to 0, which shows that the y-intercept is 0. So we know that it would be written as y is equal to 3x plus 0, or it would be 3x as just 3x. So it would be y is equal to 3x, and which is why our answer is choice A for 9. So let's move on to question 10. In the given equation, b is a constant. If the equation has infinitely many solutions, what is the value of b? So the important thing to know for this question is that on both sides, in order for an equation to have infinitely many solutions, both sides have to be the same. So in this case, let me explain. So if it's 4x plus b over 2 is equal to 2x plus 8, we have to multiply both sides by 2, so you can get rid of the 2 on the left side and distribute the 2 on the other side, the right side. So you get 4x plus b is equal to 4x, if you distribute, plus 16. So now both of them are the same form, and the 4x's are the same. So the only thing that's different is the b and the 16. But if you want to compare them, you know the 4x's is the same, so you can cancel this out, and you compare it, and you have to, and you know that b is equal to 6, has to equal to 16 for them, for both equations to be the same. So our in order for the equation to have infinitely many solutions, you have to have b as 16, which is our answer, choice D. Let me check one thing for a second. Okay, yeah. 10 is 16, yeah, because both sides have to be the same or identical. So yeah, b is equal to 16. So just make sure to have both sides the same and distribute properly, and then just compare both sides. Okay, sorry. Okay, question 11. What is the area in square units of the figure shown? So there's two ways of solving this. So we know we can use the formula, which is a trapezoid. We can use 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 height, or we can split it up into parts. I'll do it both ways so you guys have an understanding of how to do it both ways. So the first way, we can use the simple formula. We know this is base 1, or it doesn't really matter what is base 1, base 2. Let's say this is base 1, this is base 2, and this is the height. Okay, so if we do first method, you know, area is equal to 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 height. Area is equal to 1/2 base 1, let's say it was 4 plus 7, and the height was 4. Yep. And we know it is 1/2 plus times 11 times 4. And we know this is 1/2 times 4 is 2, and then times 11 is 22. And what's the units? Square units. Okay, so we know it's 22. Our answer is choice B. Cancel everything else out. So that's one way how to get the answer. We just basically use the formula, is the trapezoid formula, but you can also split it into parts. And from this, I mean, you can, you can divide it into a square and a triangle. So you can do area of square plus area of triangle. So area of the square, if you know this entire thing is 4, you know, you do 7 minus 4 to get 3. So then, you know, this side is 3, so this side has to equal to 4, because in a square, all sides are equal. So you can do area of square, which is total area, I should say total area is equal to s squared plus 1/2 base times height. That's the area of a triangle. And you get a is equal to 4 squared, because that was the equal height, the equal side length of the square. And then since we know this is this side is the leg, the bottom leg is 3, you have to find the value of this side right here. And this triangle looks familiar because if I draw it right here, and this is a right angle, because this is a right angle, because all sides of a square are right angles. You know, this also has to be a right angle, because the line has to equal to 180 from the previous concept, the second question concept. So you know the line has to equal 180. So this, you know, this angle has to be 180. So this is a right triangle, and this is a 3. We can either do the Pythagorean theorem, which is a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared, or you can identify it as 3, 4, 5 triangle. If it's easier to know it's as a 3, 4, 5 triangle, because then you don't have to do the entire Pythagorean theorem. So you can just do 3, 4, 5, and let me just move it so you can see it better. Yeah, so you can see it as a 3, 4, 5 triangle. So you know you found the missing height, which is 4. So you can plug it in. You know, 1/2 base, which was this leg right here, was 3, and the height was 4 from the 3, 4, 5 triangle, and you can just add up the areas. So you get 4 squared, which is 16, and then you get 1/2 times 3 times 4, which is you can do 1/2 times 4, which is 2, and then times 3, which is 6. So you get 16 plus 6, area is equal to 22, which matches up with the answer right here. So they're both ways you could do it. I prefer the first method because it's very simple and direct. and you don't have to take multiple parts to it. It's just one formula. You plug in the values and you get your answer. So, but it all depends on the person. It could each person is different. So another person might do it the other way. It all is up to you. The main goal is to get the answer right. Okay. Let's go to question 12. What is the y-intercept of the graph y is equal to 4x in the xy plane? Wait, okay, yeah, okay. What is the y-intercept of the graph of y is equal to 4x raised to the x power in the xy plane? Okay, so it's asking for the y-intercept. The y-intercept we know as 0, comma, some value of y, right? So when we solve for the y-intercept, you have to plug in 0 for the x value. So plug in 0 for x value to find the y-intercept. So if we use this equation right here, we plug in y is equal to 4 raised to the 0 power. And remember, anything raised to the 0 power is 1. So this would mean that the y-intercept is 1. And the only choice, so let's write it in the coordinate form. So it's 0, it's always 0, comma, whatever the y-intercept is. And this, when we found the y-intercept, it was 1. So it's 0, comma, 1. And the only option that shows that is choice C. And another way you could do it is by, which would take 5 seconds, literally 5 seconds. You have to identify that the y-intercept is 0, comma, whatever value. So the only choice that fits that the format is C. B is not in the y-intercept form, A is not the y-intercept form, and D is not the y-intercept form, because the y-intercept always has 0 as the x value, and A, B, and D did not have that. So you could have just picked that. But I went the longer way to show you and explain why it's choice C. So some of these questions are very direct. You just have to know your concepts and master your algebra and your lines, and then you'll be good for the SAT. Question 13. What is the sum of the solutions to the given equation? Okay. So this is one of the more complicated questions, but we can figure this out. So the first step to this, solving this question would be first getting everything to one side. Everything to one side. Okay. Yeah. So I would do x squared minus 14x plus 40 is equal to 2x plus 1. And then I would subtract the 2x and then subtract the 1 to get x squared minus 16x minus plus the 39, because positive 40 minus 1 is just positive 39, is equal to 0. So the fastest way I learned, or the tip that you could use, make sure to write this down. If you do sum, you can do the formula for finding the sum of the roots and the product of the roots. The sum of the roots, that's what the question is asking, the sum of solutions or roots. Okay, so the sum of roots is basically negative b over a of the equation, and the product of roots is c over a. So this would be our a, this would be our b, this would be our c. So the sum of the roots in this case would be negative b, which is negative 16, over a, which is just 1. Because if x squared does not have a coefficient, you know it's 1. So sum is equal to negative 16, negative time, negative 16 over 1, which is just 16. That is our answer, choice D for 13. But this is the fastest way. This is the most easiest way to do this type of problem, because then you don't have to factor the equation, the quadratic equation out, and then add the sum, add the roots, and then find that. But this is just simply just get everything on one side and then identifying A, B, and C, and then just using either the sum of roots formula or product of roots formula and just plugging it in to get the answer. But I can also show you the other way. We can factor this out the long way. So you get x squared minus 16x plus 39 is equal to 0. We have to find two factors that are product of 39 and the sum of 16. So 1 and 39 work, are one option. 2 does not go evenly to 39. 3 and 13 work. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So those are the two options. 1 and 39 equal to 40. 3 and 16 equal to 16. So this is our possible factors. And since we can have it at like this, equals 0. And then since we know it's minus plus, the signs inside have to be minus minus. And then since the bigger factor goes in first, and then it's this way. And then to solve the quadratic, you would have to do you would have to make a table and set both equal to 0. And then add 13. X is equal to 13. Add 3. X is equal to 3. And then you would add them. So it would be 13 plus 3, which is 16. But instead of doing the entire factoring, you could just simply get everything to one side and then use this formula right here. But it's important to also know this formula, because there was, I think, a question when I took the SAT and that they asked for the product of roots, and I remember the equation was not factorable, so the only option was to either use this formula or use the quadratic formula, and that could be a pain. It's always better to use either sum of roots formula or the product of roots formula, depending on what they're asking for. So that's question 13. That was answer D. D16. Now let's go to 14. And you also have to remember, as the question number progresses, the difficulty also increases. So 1's the easiest and 15 is the hardest for the multiple choice, and then it resets for the fill-in, and then you have to do 16 to 20, where it's easiest to hardest again. Okay, let's do 14. When the speed of an object approaches the speed of light, its length as seen by an observer changes. When the object is stationary relative to an observer, its length is s. And when the same object is moving at a speed v relative to the observer, its length is L. The formula above expresses L in terms of s, v, and c, the speed of light. Which of the following gives the speed of object in terms of the other quantities? So the tip I would give you for this question is to see what they're looking for. And it can be, this question is very wordy, and other questions tend to be very wordy as well. So I just look for what it said equal to, because that's what you're trying to solve for. So in this case, they're looking for v or isolating v by itself. So we know we have to get v by itself. So let's rewrite the equation that they gave us. Okay, so we have to get v by itself. So the first thing I would do is divide s by both sides to get rid of the s. On the right-hand side, to get L over s is equal to radical 1 minus v squared over c squared. And then I would just square both sides, because whatever you do on the one side, you have to do on the other side. So you get L over s squared. And when you square something, you get rid of, it's the radical, you get rid of the radical. So you get 1 minus v squared over c squared is equal to L over s squared. And look, if you look in the choices, they don't have L over s squared. And so that basically means that they distribute the squared. So this is basically L squared over s squared is equal to 1 minus v squared over c squared. Okay, now we still have to keep in mind that we're looking for v. So we can subtract we can subtract 1 on both sides. So we basically get L squared over s squared minus 1 is equal to negative v squared over c squared. And then now we can divide by negative 1. So we can get rid of the negative sign in front of the v squared over c squared. So you're left, and when you divide by negative 1 by the L squared over s squared is minus 1, you have to do it on both terms. So you get negative L squared over s squared. Negative 1 divided by negative 1 is just positive 1 is equal to v squared over c squared. And then now you would multiply everything by c squared to get c squared minus L squared over s squared plus 1. Keep everything the same in the parentheses. The c squares cancel out, and then you're just left with v squared. And notice how in all answer choices, they did not distribute the c squared, so that you can just leave it as is. And then you could do, you can take the square root of v squared and then do that on the left-hand side as well to get rid of the squares. And then you're just left with v is equal to the square root of c squared, negative L times negative L squared over s squared plus 1. And notice how in the answer choices, they don't have c squared. So that basically means that they simplified it a little bit. Let me make this smaller. And this question is very long, I understand, but you just have to focus on what you're looking for, and then you'll be able to get the answer. So the square root of c squared is just basically c, because you're just getting rid of the exponent, and then you still have to keep the radical for everything else, because that does not simplify. You get negative L squared over S squared plus 1, all in radical parentheses, is equal to V. And notice how it's not one of the answer choices, because they just have the order switched around. So you still get C radical and just switch the order around. You get plus 1 plus, and just keep the negative sign, so it becomes negative L squared over S squared in parentheses is equal to V. And that is answer choice A. Yep, answer choice A. C and D both don't work, because then they did not account for the radical, which is wrong. And B is wrong because it has the wrong sign. So that's also incorrect. So our answer is A. Okay, question 15. Last one for the multiple choice. Okay, the half-life of a certain substance in an aquatic environment is about 150 years. The half-life, remember the half-life. Which of the following exponential functions best models the amount A of t in grams of the substance t years after 200 grams of the substance applied to the aquatic environment? So this is basically the initial. So to keep that in mind, the half-life is the length of a time needed for an amount of the substance to decrease to one half of the time. Of the amount. Sorry. So basically, the best way I would use this is by using the half-life formula. I remember I learned it in algebra 2. Half-life formula, which is basically n of t is equal to n initial, which is O, 1/2, and raised to the t over t, and then that's the half-life, t over the half-life, and t is the time. So you do n of t, and like I said, they give you the initial, which is 200 grams. You just have to, once you know the formula, you just have to plug everything in. The 200, 150 is the half-life. So A and B are out, because you have to have the initial as what you're multiplying with the 1/2. So that's A and B are incorrect. And then you have to keep the 1/2, because it's the formula. When you move this to the side, and then it's always T over the half-life. So half-life, as they said, was 150 years, which was in the question. So that is our equation. And it's not C, because that does not match with this. So it's choice D. So it's the initial. It accounts for the initial, the 1/2, which you always need. T is the years, and this is the half-life. So you have to account for everything they give. And so that matches with the half-life formula. And so that's why D is our answer. Okay. Now we're going, now the difficulty is resetting, and now we're going to the fill-ins. Okay. The graph of y is equal to mx plus b, where m and b are constants, is shown in the xy plane. We know m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. XY plane. What is the value of m? So like I identified, m is the slope. So we just have to see, sorry, let me not block the view or block the graph. So we're just looking for the slope. So one way we could do it is by picking points and solving using the m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 formula, or you can use rise over run. I prefer to use rise over run when they give the graph, because it's easier to see, and then you're less likely to make mistakes. So let's do the first way first, but I'll show you how to do both ways. The second way is a lot easier and faster. Let's say we pick 2 points. Let's pick this one and this one. Okay. So let's say we have 0, -2. No, wrong way. -2, 0 as x1, y1. And then we have here, which is -1, 2 as x2, y2. So we would use this formula right here, which is y2 minus y1 over x minus x1. We get 2 minus 0 over -1 minus the -2 which you would get 2 over negative 1. The double negative becomes positive. It becomes negative 1 plus 2. Oops. Negative 1 plus 2, which becomes 1, which is basically 2. So that is one way to get the answer with the slope of 2. Or you can just do rise over 1. You can do rise 2, 1, different ink, 1, 2, and left right 1. So up 2, 2, and then 1. So this is basically rise over run, rise twice, and then run once. It's basically 2. So that's the easier and faster way to do it. That's how I usually prefer to do it. But unless I double check to make sure it's my answer, but that's the way I prefer to do it, like I said. So our answer is 2 for the slope. Both options work, like I said. It's just up to preference, and if you're in a hurry or if you're short on time, it depends what you want to do. Okay, now question 17. If x comma y is the solution to the given system of equations, what is the value of y? Okay, so they told us x plus y is equal to 5, and they also said 2x is equal to 5. So the way I would do it is by having the same equation, or I mean having the same x's and y's. So if x plus y is equal to 5, and they told us 2x is equal to 5, I can just multiply everything by 2 to get 2x plus 2y is equal to 10, because I have to distribute. And then I already know 2x is equal to 5. We know this already. So we can just plug the 2x for 5. I mean, we can plug the 5 for 2x, and you get 5 plus 2y is equal to 10. We subtract the 5. 2y is equal to 5 divided by 2. Y is equal to, you can either leave it as 5 over 2 or 2.5. Both options work in this case. So that is our answer for 17, 2.5. Very straightforward. Okay, question 18. What positive value, remember, positive value. What positive value of x satisfies the equation above? This is the equation. And so this is basically a quadratic, but they did not fully find the roots. So I know this is a quadratic because there are two binomials, and there's two binomials. If you factor them, FOIL them, you get something an x squared term, which is a quadratic. So you get 5x minus 3, 1. And there's 2 possible roots. That also shows it's a quadratic. If you FOIL, you get x squared term. You get x squared term. Okay. Yeah, you get x squared term, which shows FOIL. I mean, well, not shows, sorry, what am I saying? Which shows quadratic. Okay, so to solve this problem, we just basically make a table and set everything each term to 0. So 5 is equal to 0, that does not work, so we know that can be an answer. X minus 3 is equal to 0, x plus 1 is equal to 0. So we add 3, x is equal to 3 is 1 root, and then we subtract 1, take for this one, you get x is equal to -1. And so these are our 2 roots, but it's asking for the positive value of x. So the only positive value is 3, not -1. -1 is a negative answer. So our answer is choice, not choice. Our answer is x is equal to 3, because that's the only positive value for our positive root in this case. So our answer is x is equal to 3. Next question, we're almost done. What value of x satisfies the equation above? So this is basically simple algebra. We just have to get everything on one side and just solve for x. So we get 3x minus 0.6 is equal to 1.8. We add 0.6, 0.6. Make sure you align so it's easier. Keep the decimal points the same. You get 3x is equal to, make sure you keep the decimal points the same position. 8 plus 6 is 14. Add 1, you get 2. 2.4, keep decimal so you don't mess up everything up, because they're really testing us on our addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, and see if we're doing the basics correctly. And now we divide by 3 on both sides. So I treat this as 24. So what's 24 divided by 3? I think of 8. And since it's 1 decimal to the left, you just move the decimal point right here. So you get x is equal to 0.8. And that is our answer for x. Yeah, 0.8. Last question, question 20. A square is inscribed in a circle with radius 6 radical 2 inches. So let's draw it. And what is the perimeter of the square in inches? So they're asking for the perimeter. The formula for perimeter is 4s, where this is a side length. Let's draw a visual representation of the situation. So they say a square is inscribed in a circle. So a circle, and that's square, something like that. Okay, better. Oops, like a rectangle. Oops. So something like that. And they said a square is inscribed in a circle with the radius. Radius is half the diameter, 6.5. 6.5. This is also the radius, 6.5. Okay, so but we have to first find this length, one of the lengths of the sides of the square. So the best way I would do it is by, if we know the radius is 6.5. I mean, not 6 radical 2. Our diameter is twice the radius, which is 12 radical 2. So this would be another 6.5. So you just multiply it by 2, you get the diameter is 12 radical 2. And now if you want to separate the square, we know this entire length is 12 radical 2. And both of these sides have to be the same. And we have to know that this is a right angle, because in a square, all the sides are right, all the points I made up are right angles. So if we further simplify the picture, we get a right angle with a 12 radical 2, and then the legs are the same. It becomes a right triangle. And an important thing to know is that these angles are 45 degrees. 45 degrees. Because if this is 90, both of them have to be 45, because both legs are the same. And this is 12 radical 2 as this side. So this is a special right triangle where it's x, x, x radical 2. And in this case, since the hypotenuse is, so this would be the leg, this would be the leg, and this is the hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse is 12 radical 2. So we know if this is the x, we know that the sides have to be 12 and 12. So we know that the sides are now 12, 12, 12 radical 2 with the 45-degree angle. 45-degree angle. And we know this, since now we know the sides are 12, we know the side of the side of the triangles are 12. We know the side of the squares are also 12. And now since it's asking for the perimeter, you would do perimeter, which is P is equal to 4s. So P is equal to 4 times 12. Let me move this a little up. And you get P is equal to 48. And that is our answer for this question. So basically, you just have to, for this type of question, I usually just draw the question, the visual representation of the question, and then just label and try to dissect the problem. And I dissected it with the square and then the triangle. I found out that it was a special right triangle, so I applied the formulas. And they give on the SAT, they give it on the first page of the section 3. They give you the special right triangle formulas. They give you x radical 2, and so you just have to know that. And they also give you for the 30, 60, 90 triangle. So yeah, it's better to memorize it, but you can always use it if you forget it. So that's what I basically did. And so yeah, our answer is 48 for question 20. And so yeah, so now we're basically we're done for tonight, and we're done with the March 2020 section 3 of the math section of the SAT. I hope you guys enjoyed and learned a lot and found great value in this webinar. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Embrace Tutoring through email.
Okay, so thanks for watching, and please remember to contact us at info@embracetutoring.com to set up any personalized private tutoring sessions you would like. Stay tuned for future videos and best of luck with your studies. We definitely encourage you to visit our Instagram as well as TikTok pages if you have any questions along the way. Take care, guys. Best of luck with your studies.